Are you two seeing this? Whew, never a dull day. Anyway, what do you have planned for the weekend? Oh, can you pass me my phone? Never mind. Hi, where are you?
Hi, I'm waiting on you.
No, we're supposed to meet here in Everybody Curious Land.
Why can we never get this right?
I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, question, are you squeamish?
No, why?
I may be inside the human bloodstream.
What?
You know what? I will explain when I see you.
Okay, so you're gonna get me and you're gonna go to Bob Rumball?
Yeah,
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, we are here.
Hooray. I'm so excited to hang out with you and Gaitrie.
Me too. So I have been practicing some ASL.
Show me.
Okay.
Wow, what does that mean?
It means, hi, how are you?
Oh my god, I'm so good. We should go inside.
Okay, let's do
Okay.
it.
Oh my god! What do we do?
I don't know.
What do we do?
It's too loud.
It's your car!
What do deaf drivers do?
I have no idea. They probably wouldn't even know.
Oh.
Let's go.
Where are we? It's like a mystery mansion. Are you looking for a secret passage?
Well, you know there's one in here somewhere.
Maybe pull one of those books.
Ooh.
Darn. Where do we go?
Check in here.
Oh.
Maybe in here.
Great.
Hi! Oh, it's nice to see you. How are you? Yeah. Me too. Excited.
Nervous. Yeah. Nervous. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
It's like nervous, excited. Yeah. Yeah.
Learn?
Yeah.
Learn. Yes.
Yeah.
A S L
Let's do S again. A S L.
L
Oh, okay.
A
Thank
S
you.
L. Thank you. Welcome to Everybody Curious. Spencer, what are you doing?
Am I not ordering a coffee?
No, you're making out.
Oh, it's this.
Hi, I'm really excited to work with you all today. We have a lot of topics we want to discuss specifically related to sexuality. And we have two hosts joining us as well. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Nadine, and I am a Black woman. I am a sexuality educator, and I'm so excited to have you all here with us today.
Hi, my name is Spencer, Spencer, and I am a gay disabled motivational speaker and content creator.
Awesome. Very nice to meet the two of you.
Yes, it's nice to meet you both.
So before we go ahead, I wanted to discuss the environment we're in, this learning environment, make sure that everyone feels motivated, feels comfortable, feels brave, ready to listen, because we're going to talk about a lot of different topics today. So I want to talk about brave space. Have you heard that term before? A brave space?
I've heard it, but I'm not sure in depth what it means.
We use that space, often we'll hear about a safe space, right? That's a pretty common term. But safe space, I mean, I can't tell if you're feeling safe today, right? I can't tell individually how people are feeling. So I like to use brave, a brave space, a space where we feel comfortable, we feel motivated to participate, and that means we discuss our expectations and what we're going to do today. Yeah, me too.
I'm also excited to develop relationships with everyone here and see what people have been through, what experiences look like. You know, being able to be involved. I'm very excited to be here. I agree, says Gaitrie.
Yeah, me too, says Jasmina. This is a beautiful opportunity, says B.
What's one thing you really want the hearing community to understand?
Wow.
Wow, that is a good question.
I think I want the hearing community to know that deaf people can do anything. The only thing we can't do is hear.
Also, I want to feel like when we meet hearing people, there's always a lot of times where we're in the hearing community or, with my hearing friends, and they'll ask things like, what's your identity? Like, are you a lesbian? Are you gay? But there's this shocking moment where it's like, oh, deaf person involved with the queer community? I've never seen that before. Like, it's just, no, deafness is not just one thing, right? Again, like Jasmina said, we can do anything but hear. But the perspective of us being as part of these all different communities and intersectionalities that we have doesn't seem to strike the hearing folks as much sometimes. So yeah, when it comes to, deaf or hearing folks, anyone could be fluid. Anyone could have different identities.
I think Spencer's comment before made me think as well that, like, hearing people, like...
They don't even realize we call them hearing sometimes. Like, that is a term that we use for people that are not deaf. They're hearing. So when I meet hearing people who don't sign very specifically...
I'll say people who don't sign or who can't hear to identify. Because the majority group, typically when you have a majority group and a minority group doesn't have a label, right? They label the minority groups. So
Yes, that's something that I just learned, that there's a sign for I'm hearing. I didn't know that.
Any other terms we want to discuss?
So there's some signs around, like lesbian, I've seen in two different ways.
That is definitely a hot topic in the community as well. The lesbian community feels as though when you put the L directly on your chin, fully on your chin, it feels offensive. I think that sort of comes from using the word fag as an offensive term, and people would use that sign in that context. So I think that's why it's evolved. So I think it has moved a little bit, like you just signed it, so it's just the tip of the index finger on the chin instead. What do we think this is?
Hair, obviously.
Yeah.
Body
yeah.
hair.
But what kind of hair?
Just hair.
Body hair? There's another word for it. Pubic hair, yeah. Pubic hair. Is there a vagina? Yeah. What about this one? What do you think this is? So we have balls and they're in this. What do we call that? Scrotum.
Right, scrotum.
Yeah. Spelling it right? Oh, I'm not good at spelling. S-C-R-O-T-U-M, right?
All right.
Why do individuals have a scrotum?
It holds. Make sure that it keeps all your body parts in place, right? Keeps everything together.
Yes, it's definitely important. That was a very graphic explanation, Dominic, but yes. Like, so they don't swing free, they're held together in position. So if we think about a person who has a vagina, the head of the penis, very similar to the clitoris. So if we're talking about sperm and eggs, I mean, we are all from that same formula, right? We need sperm, we need eggs, that's where we all come from. And the sperm comes from scrotum, from the testicles.
And so for some folks, when they're born, their genitals end up growing outwardly on the outside versus those that grow more inside and in the body. So what would we call them if they're inside the body?
Be related to the period, Jasmina said?
Or to maybe like the ovaries or something, like what
Yeah.
helps make babies with your period, that
Yeah.
stuff?
Yes, exactly. The ovaries. So the ovaries, in terms of development, end up inside the body. And individuals with ovaries are actually born
With their
with the eggs ready. They're born with the eggs that they have, and then as they develop, when they're ready to send eggs down through from the ovaries, down the fallopian tubes, they'll start with their period. So, but the point being that balls and ovaries are similar at the beginning of development, and some move inside and some stay outside.
And so we all start out in the same way, but then our development ends up different.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was saying, so we have scrotum and the testicles. They're exterior to the body, and they have a sac that holds them in place. And then people with vaginas.
It's what protects the same way. Is that the labia, Gaitrie saying? Yes, it's the labia.
The labia protect the opening in the vagina. So they are skin flaps, and we actually have two sets. There's a thin set right around the opening of the vagina, and then there are two larger labia around the exterior.
So related to that, if we're discussing the vagina, and I know there's been a lot of discussion around this, how do you wash Or like clean your vagina. Like, you know, there's that whole idea of like, you know, you're rubbing toilet paper against it. Like, how do we avoid infection? How should you even like wipe? Like back to front to back? Like, what does that look like?
I think standard practice, typically, it's suggested from front to back. So you reach around behind and you pull back. Because and the reason for that is that, you know, you have bacteria, especially around your anus, around your bum. And if you're wiping back to front, you're pulling that bacteria forward and it could get into your vagina, your genitals, and could cause problems. So for example, let's say this is the butt, your bum, your anus, right? So it's behind the vagina a little bit and down. So if you're pulling forward, you're moving that bacteria forward.
No, but that's good to know, right? Because also sometimes think that maybe it's a further apart and so that it wouldn't be as much of an issue. Whereas, you know, it's really less than 1 inch if we actually take a look at the sizing of it. So I think that's definitely something important to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I mean, individuals vary, of course, but yeah.
And also to add to that, oftentimes if you have a vulva, for cleaning, just soap and water. The vagina is self-cleaning. The lubrication cleans out the vagina.
And it was interesting, right? Did you notice that Nadine used the word vulva? Did you want to speak to that, Nadine?
Sure. The vulva are the outer parts of the genitalia. So it's the labia, the clitoris, the urethral opening, that's the hole that we pee through, and then the vaginal opening, which is the opening to the vagina. And then the vagina is actually that canal. So, you know, if someone was using a tampon, that's where the tampon would go. If someone's giving birth, if they're having a vaginal birth, that's where the baby would come out.
So yeah, so we have the two words vulva and vagina. And in society, typically, the word vulva, people kind of react to a little more than vagina, but exactly that. So the vulva is on the outside. I remember we were discussing the uterus, which is where you start your period and where that comes from. It's the hole that is leading to the uterus, that tube, that hole, pardon the interpreter of the words, is the vagina. It typically has its own mucus, its own lube that helps it be lubricated.
And likewise, what you had just mentioned with the cleaning of it, yeah, you wouldn't necessarily go up in that, right?
A partner that I have now, who is a CODA, which is a child of deaf adults, has deaf parents, came with knowledge about deaf culture. So that particular relationship is completely different. And at the same time, though, they're hearing, so sometimes they do need to be reminded still, because they are a hearing person, even though they have that deaf cultural piece. That reminding still sometimes needs to be done. And I'll ask, I tell them, you know, if I need support, which sometimes maybe I will, I'll ask for help, or I'll ask for you to be there to support me. But also within deaf culture too, like we want to be exposed to as much as we can. We want to gather knowledge, and that's how we get better and how we improve. And through communication, we can do that. I think it's really important that we both communicate our needs, deaf, hearing, in relationships, whether that's friend or partner, making sure that we communicate, you know, where we're coming from and what our cultures are and our backgrounds are and what we expect from a relationship. Yeah, I think we have to remember too, we can take our time having that understanding and making sure that we're having communication and that we get to know our partner really well. That doesn't happen fast for someone to be comfortable. It's not a rush. We can take our time. Okay, so here's the scenario. So the two of you, you're in a relationship and you've decided you want to, whether it's have sex or make out, you want to have some foreplay, you want to do something. And Gaitrie, you want the lights off. And Alessa, you're a bit more concerned because how will we communicate if the lights are off? So let's see what that conversation looks like.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I want to take the lights off.
What? No. If the lights are off, then like how are we going to communicate? If we're going to have sex, like how would we communicate? I can't see you then.
Okay, well, so like if I want you to stop, I could tap your knee like this. And if it's something where I want you to keep going, I'll do more of a scratching.
Oh, this is the first time I've experienced this. So what if I make a mistake?
I mean, if we need to, we can turn if there's something seriously going awry, then absolutely we can turn the lights on, but I'd prefer to have the lights off.
Okay, all right.
Lights off.
What do we think, everyone, from that scenario? Any other suggestions, any thoughts? I think communication is important before the lights go off. To make sure that we know exactly what's happening, to make sure that both are comfortable. One person shouldn't decide what it's going to look like. It should be a conversation. So both should feel comfortable with what we've decided, and once we agree to that, then we can move ahead. Because I think if one person is deciding, the other person is already uncomfortable. And what if it's your first time? You know, you want to be respected, you want to feel comfortable as you go into it, so.
Mm-hmm. You want to have that trust built as well, right? That communication and that trust for the relationship. So you really have consent to make sure it's a successful activity for you both. And it also can help reduce that awkward feeling, at least in my experience.
Jasmine is adding, yeah, and also too, people do make mistakes, so we want to remember that, and people are learning. So next time you may do things a little differently, or you'll remember how it was done, or you might improve the way that you communicate. It's nice to have someone, that it's okay to ask questions. Sometimes parents can be really awkward, or they don't answer the question, or they don't want to talk about it, or they don't want you to be in that situation at all, so they shut it down immediately and tell you why you shouldn't be doing it, and it's not a good decision. And it's like, that's fine, but I still have the question. So I think teenagers in general, or youth, like when we start asking questions and we start getting really curious, that outlet of where do we go to get information? We start trying to look for people that we can ask, because we don't want to tell our parents, because all they ever do is say, but that's not a good decision anyway, and they don't answer the questions. So there's so much exposure that we don't necessarily get. That would include also why you may or may not do the thing, and why people would judge it right or wrong, and understanding it from a variety of perspectives, because sometimes parents, bring their own opinions and their own issues along with their answer. And then the situation, you want the situation to be open. You want to be able to get information about it without being judged.
Yeah, wow. Looking back, I'm realizing, when I was 18, there was so much that I hadn't learned about when it comes to sexual education, different methods. For example, the morning after pill. Does anyone here know what that means? I have reached age 18 and I had no idea. I had no education around that. There was never someone who came into class and was like, hey, here's how we're going to put on a condom. Here's different kinds of contraceptions. There was nothing like that. And so I'm curious if you feel that there's something like that for you at this point. Do you have someone who comes in and talks to your class about this?
Jasmine is asking, Dominique and Xander, do you both know what the morning after pill is?
Xander saying yes, Dominique saying no. And Xander's explanation was not correct.
Do you want to explain it, Jasmina?
Sure. So the morning after pill is, if people are, having raw sex, no condom, and it's not only in that particular situation, it could be maybe you're in trouble, but for whatever reason you've had sex without protection and ejaculation has happened and you don't want to be pregnant. So at which point you can go to the doctor and get a morning after pill, and it's a pill that you take with water, and essentially what that pill will do is it will dissolve anything that is happening and prevent pregnancy from happening. Some people are like, it kills, but it doesn't kill anything, it prevents it. And Gaitrie's adding, not just raw sex, sometimes condoms break. And so sometimes there's unexpected elements too, right? Condoms are only 99% effective, but there's still a 1% where something could happen.
This has been an amazing discussion. We talked about a lot. I really enjoyed this. Thank you for sharing your stories and being willing to discuss all these topics together.
I'm so happy to have met all of you.
I feel so honored, very excited to see the learning that took place today. And all of us have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to learn, not, for ourselves, of course, but also to share with others.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Hey.
I feel like we should just keep the silence going for a minute.